Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. My name's Soleil and I garden here in a Zone 5B in mid-Michigan, and I'm excited to take you around today because some of the spring bulbs are just really popping, and I'm seeing a lot of growth coming out of the ground. So let's just take a look around, and I'll try not to talk too much and let you enjoy some of the show, but also share a little bit about what's going on in some of the different places and what some of the plants are. Let's take a look. The Mailbox Garden is looking really pretty. These Ice Folly daffodils have really just done a good show this year, and they're almost over. They'll probably last a few more days before most of them start producing their seeds. This long border here is filled with daffodils and absolutely glorious to look at. There's so many different colors of the daffodils and so many different types. My black scallop ajuga is starting to push out some new growth, so it's beginning to look much cleaner and fuller. Here's my black lace elderberry. It's putting on some good strong new growth, and we'll see if it flowers this year. I didn't get very many blooms last year. This will be its third year, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it will do. The juniper is losing some of its old needles and beginning to push out some new growth. So we'll see what that one does, and it should get very tall but stay very narrow in its habit. These viburnums are putting on some of their little buds. And here's a close-up of the black scallop ajuga. You can just see how the buds are forming for the flowers on these as well. It'll be a spectacular show, and I expect to divide more of these and spread them throughout this bed this season. Just look at all the glorious buds on this Weeping Louisa Elcott, or Louisa May crabapple tree here. It's a beautiful weeping crabapple. I expect these probably will begin to open tomorrow. And the gorgeous foliage of this double placed spirea next to the bright daffodil colors and the barberries. There's even a white tulip coming up in this barberry. Near the front we have some peonies also coming up. This flowering crabapple here is full of buds, so I expect that one's going to be open up as well within the next couple of days. It should be beautiful. And behind that we have a beautiful sand cherry with its gorgeous red foliage. The boxwoods continue to line the path, and I have to say, unfortunately, the rabbits did get the best of the tulips that I planted along this row, so they are all gone and have pretty much been completely decimated, but that's okay. I did plant lots of them to ensure that the rabbits had some and I got some. Here are my concrete planters. I have some rhubarb starts that I just got from my sister. So those were just planted yesterday, so they're a little droopy, but they will perk back up and be just fine soon. And I've planted out my mugo pine and my bird's nest spruce in the other one. And I'll be moving these planters. This is not where they are going to belong. All of my hydrangeas are starting to bud out, so it's really nice to see the new growth and just know that they're growing on. The ferns are sending up their fiddleheads. This is the royal fern, and it really enjoys having lots of water to be able to produce its fronds, but it's very beautiful and not invasive like some other ferns can be. This azalea is beginning to bloom next to the Chinese viburnum, or excuse me, the Eastern viburnum. We'll see if this will bloom this year. I don't see any buds yet. This will be its first real year in the ground, and it's going to get much larger. Last year I think a lot of people thought I was crazy as I cut off the tops of this, what was supposed to be a dwarf burning bush, but was actually about probably 8 feet tall last year. But you can see it is really pushing out the new growth this year and ready to throw out some new leaves. It will be gorgeous. Now we're in the backyard and we're getting some clematis just about everywhere. Here we have the Dulce series spearmint heucheras with some gorgeous hosta. Right here we have the Shadowland Diamond Lake hosta that I just got last year, so we'll see how that one does. It should get very big and have wavy blue leaves. And this is a Forsythia. This is the show-off starlet. This one will stay rather small, so it's about 24 inches high, and it won't get a whole lot bigger than that, which is really great for small-sized gardens. This is from Proven Winners, so it's a great option for small gardens. And they bloom from the bottom to the top. As you can see, I have this beautiful line of tulips happening now. Isn't that gorgeous? Tulips and daffodils. And I'm just going to pan over here so you can see as things are starting to really fill out. And it's beginning to look a little more like a garden. Yes, I still have some of my messes and we're still working on those. It's a slow process, but we have some little Kim lilacs over here. And this will be their second full year, and I believe they're going to put on a nice show. The buds last year actually got frozen off, so we didn't get much in the way of blooms. But look at these. Look at these tulips, you guys. They're so gorgeous. These are the big apricot variety. They're a Darwin hybrid. I get them from Color Blends. And this is their second year, so they return fairly well as a perennial in our area. And I have a strawberry sundae, I believe, hydrangea back here that is going to get much larger and will be super beautiful with some daylilies and millennial alliums. We also have a mock orange shrub here. I have yet to get blooms on this one, but I'm really hoping this year that I'll see some. Every year we seem to get that late freeze, and I don't think that we have one in the forecast this year, so I'm really hopeful. And then our superstar spirea, look at the lovely colors of the new foliage that's coming out on those. I have one over there and then another one to match it here. I have azalea over here that's getting ready to bloom as well. Oh dear, here we go with the neighbors and their electric blowers. Sorry guys. Look at the size of these foxgloves. Those are coming up really nicely. And we have some really pretty alliums that are going to be growing in here. These are the Globe Masters with the tulips just about to bloom. I have several Japanese maples, and you can see the leaves are finally starting to open. They have this amazing droopy, silvery white quality about them before they fully open. I'm just loving the way all of these tulips look. I really did take a chance with the rabbits because the rabbits in my yard really do like to visit a lot. But honestly, look at the way that the buds look before they open even. That striping, it's so unique. And then as they turn into this pink apricot color, so gorgeous. I love it. Lots of heuchera, beginning to get much bigger leaves. I did a pretty good job, I think, of cleaning up some of the old foliage, but there's still a little bit there. And the viburnum is beginning to leaf out. Now, I'm not seeing a lot of buds on this viburnum. I don't know if they may still be coming or not, because I haven't actually had this for very long. So this will be its second year, and last year all of the blooms got frozen off. This does bloom on old wood, so it should look good though. The foliage on it is beautiful regardless of whether it blooms or not. And this clematis has filled out a great deal at the top, and then I had planted two new ones down at the bottom, the Duchess of Edinburgh, and they are really filling out and beginning to creep up this obelisk. And you can see this bed is just full of tulips that are getting ready to bloom. There's lots of other grasslight foliage that is in here that is the result of some very small bulbs that are throughout this bed. And then I have some clematis that are beginning to crawl up this trellis, along with what I believe is going to be a firelight hydrangea. It might also be a quick fire hydrangea, so I'm waiting to see as it blooms. Now this yellow tulip here, this is not one that I bought. Actually, it was planted before I moved into this house. The yellow tulips are actually probably at least 16 years old, and sometimes they have blooms and sometimes they don't, just depending on how the winter goes. And this year they look like they're going to be very strong. But there's only a couple of them left. My redwoods here are just starting to put out some cute little foliage. Be interested to see if I get blooms on this one or not this year. And just look at this bed in the back with the thundercloud purple leaf plum. Aren't those blooms beautiful? All of the color is starting to really happen. I have a diamond rouge hydrangea here I absolutely love. I planted that last year. Really looking forward to seeing how that does to grow up and out through these two arborvitaes. I think that's going to look gorgeous. And we have some of the small tete-a-tete daffodils in this garden bed, along with the little lime hydrangea. And the macadamia is really putting on some strong growth now. The macadamia is just really happy where it's at, so I'm glad I chose that space for it. Lots of tulip blooms in this bed, just waiting to get a little bit more sunshine. But all of the mycorrhizum, or the large root geranium that are in these beds, those are those puffs of green towards the back. They have really greened up and fluffed out, and you can see the autumn frost hosta beginning to poke through some of the leaf mulch here. And then we also have a Fothergilla back here. This is the Mount Airy Fothergilla. And as you can see, many buds are on that. And the Fothergilla is also called a bottle brush. So you'll see when these buds turn into flowers that they look a lot like the type of brush that you would use to wash a bottle with. I love the colors in this bed as the hostas are coming out with their creamy white edges. And then we have So many different kinds of heucheras, along with this gorgeous azalea. Look at the color on this. Such a beautiful deep pink, almost a purple. Just gorgeous. And this is under another red bud. This is the biggest red bud that I have, so I do anticipate this one's going to give me a little bit of flowering this year. So we'll be watching this one over the next week for sure. And you can see my Espalier apple tree, which I have begun to tie into the fence, but I still have a few more adjustments to do with it. Just kind of letting it settle in a bit right now. Those cute blooms on the purple leaf plum. It's so fun to come outside and just see the birds flitting from one tree or bush to another. They really do enjoy having that extra bit of cover. This is a Euonymus, and it's the gold type. So lots of new growth coming out there. It's much brighter as the new growth pushes out. And I did have a chance to come in and prune up this box wood a little bit just to reshape it, and I think it looks pretty healthy. So this year I think is going to be an excellent year of growth for it. Over here you can see that we have some bleeding hearts that are beginning to put on the buds. In this bed I have a Weigela, and I think this is the pink poppet one. I am trimming it a little bit to look more like a bit of a standard because it had a long stem and then a couple of random ones kind of popping off the side. And so I cut off the side ones, and I think that's going to make a really nice little topiary-ish standard type form. We'll see how that comes out as it grows. And the baby Brunera are growing. Lots and lots of new growth on the Ajuga in this bed. It is really budding up, so I'm expecting to see lots of blooms soon. And it should be a bit of a purplish blue color, so it'll be an amazing contrast to this yellowish foliage. And then look at the Espalier foliage. Look at how fuzzy it looks on this stem. Isn't that neat? We have several of those in here, and those should bloom pink when they come out. And the planting of nasturtiums right now is looking quite good. And just look at how this pretty and pink lungwort is doing with the pansies. Isn't it beautiful? I have birds just circling and flitting amongst things right now. Lots of robins. Here's some catching fire heuchera. Look at the colors on those. I have another one over here that is right next to the trillium that is getting ready to bloom. And that is right next to some beautiful maidenhair ferns that are unfurling. I don't know if you can see those fronds very well, but they are. And I have quite a few oak leaf hydrangeas back here, and they are all starting to put on their beautiful gray silvery leaves. And then plenty of heuchera or coral bells back here as well. And some more of that large root or macrorhizome geranium. These are some blue moon flax that are getting ready to bloom. And as the name implies, their blooms are very blue. They only get about 12 to maybe 16 inches at its top height, and they are so cute. Amongst here that we also see just starting to come up are some Japanese ferns. And then we have the heucherella right by them. My half moon bed at the end of the pool is just looking so cheery with all those daffodils, isn't it? Here we have the lemony lace elderberry. Very finely dissected leaves, and you can see how that foliage is becoming lemon lime instead of that sort of deep purple burgundy color that it comes out as, and it's covered in buds that will turn into very light white colored blooms. And next to that we have some Solomon seal that is variegated. And I'm excited because I can see that there's a few more of them this year than there was last year, so that means it's beginning to really put roots down and begin to spread. We have some large Francis William Hostas in this bed. They're wonderful. And we have some lungworts as well, a couple of different kinds. I believe this one is called Moonshine, if I have it correct. And of course the Vinca at this time of year is just beginning to bloom. A lot of people ask me about this area and what the ground cover is. And just so you're aware, it's a wonderful ground cover. It does cover rather quickly, and it is evergreen, and it does flower. But it also can be somewhat invasive, so that's part of the reason why it's in this circular bed surrounded by rocks in a way that I can continue to keep it under control. So I definitely recommend that. Over here we have our hopscotch fun and games heucherellas. They're looking really good now. And then this bed is just full of pulmonaria, and we have a bleeding heart here that is going to be blooming soon. There is one just across the path from it as well over here, so they make a really nice duo. And then there's a very small one that I transplanted last year in the back. But one of the beautiful pieces of this area is definitely the row of lungwort that you see along the front that are just starting to put out their blooms. And you can see there are buds just everywhere on all of these. So by next garden tour, I hope to show you what that looks like in full force. And then also by your next garden tour, we should be seeing a ton of Japanese ferns coming up in this area because it is full of them. And I do have this incredible hydrangea right here as well. So yeah, this bed has really filled in since the last time I showed it to you all. And we have a purple leaf plum over here as well. This one gets a slight bit more shade than the other one. It gets the morning sun and a little bit more afternoon shade from the large trees that are around it, but it still has plenty of blooms and it's beautiful. I definitely do need to come through and give them a pruning though. Now in the springtime, something that just lights a fire anywhere that it is the amber Jubilee 9-bark. Look at the leaves on that. Doesn't it just look like amber fire? Oh my goodness, it is gorgeous. It just glows up against that green of the arborvitae. Again, it's the amber Jubilee 9-bark. It will have some very pretty little flowers on it as well soon. And it's a native, so it really adapts well to drought. So I highly recommend that to folks. There's lots of different kinds of 9-bark as well, so look for ones that you like that do well in your area. Everything's just leafing out really well. Lots of burgundy glow ajuga getting ready to blossom. Look at all the buds on it. And then the phlox is poking up. And you can see the potager is still really alive. Just bursting right now. and coming through with all of the rain that we've gotten. It just keeps raining, and it's been really cool, but not freezing temperatures, so things have continued to grow, just more slow than normal. I'd say we're still probably 4 weeks behind where we normally are when I look back at pictures this time of year for other years in the past. So this is a dark horse weigela over here. You can see now how the dark foliage is coming in on it. It's finally beginning to contrast a little bit more with the bark around it. I'm looking forward to seeing the foxgloves pop up, and I will have to get out my little statue of my lady, and I get to plant the area in her statue which looks like her hair, so that will be coming out soon, hopefully this weekend. And just look at all of the lettuce that we have. This stuff is from last year, most of it, so it's going to probably bolt soon, but I certainly enjoyed having its greenery around as other things were beginning to fill in. And the Virginia blooms are still here. It's been a really good year for them in terms of just sticking around and not being super short-lived because it stayed cool for so long. And the sedums are really mounding out here. And this clematis is getting large and beginning to vine its way up the trellis. And then look at the service berries, they're blooming. Oh, so pretty. These service berries are good for the birds, but you can also eat them. I can't wait to see what happens with them and how many there are. You can see there's lots of buds still, so they should be really gorgeous. And these should get about 12 feet tall, but they're very skinny, so maybe a couple of feet wide, this variety. So I chose them specifically to kind of provide some greenery up against this brick wall. And for the additional interest that they bring with the flowers, and then the edible berries that they have for the birds and for us, if we get any. So here's another one of those 9 barks, the Amber Jubilee, or Autumn Jubilee. Autumn Jubilee. Love that foliage. It's such a rich color. It also looks lovely in the fall. We have lots of herbs, and the roses are coming out over here. And these 9 barks are also doing really well. These are the summer wine 9 barks, and then this one over here is the petite wine 9 bark, which looks very similar to the summer wine. And I'm going to show you my strawberries because I have blossoms. Can you believe it? Here's one with some blooms coming, and I don't know if I can get to the other one to show it. Let's try that again. So here's a strawberry that has its blooms beginning to poke out, and almost every single one of these I can see that there are buds getting ready to bloom. So May is a great time for many strawberries to begin to bloom and start setting fruit. So that's exciting. I did also have some extra nasturtium after I planted the tub. So you can see these 2 end planters. I have added nasturtium to the front of them so that hopefully it will trail over the front side of them. And I'll continue to fill out those planters as the year goes on. Okay, well that concludes our tour for the day. I hope that you enjoyed it. There's a few other areas that I didn't quite get to, but I don't want to take up too much time. So we'll definitely continue to do tours, probably 1 a week, because right now things are changing so quickly. I may even throw in some partial tours as part of other videos just so that you can see all of the changes, because it's fun to see all of the different aspects of the season, because May and June can fly by so quickly, but there are so many different opportunities to see change in your garden and the different blooms that come up from week to week. Well, thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Bye!